But then you watch a game like tonight and LeBron kicked his ass. He's not ready to be a top 15 guy, but he really, really, really gives a shit about every game. It's great. I love it. This is a long, sustained offensive excellence that when you watch it feels legitimate. We're not going to be nice. What do we care? We're just these, let's call it what it is. All right, we are on YouTube. Cousin Sal is here taping the BS podcast after another magical NFL playoff game. Sal, I've had the worst weekend, and I can't wait to talk to you about it. This game reinvigorated me. It poured a Red Bull and a coffee and a giant line of cocaine into my body. I am ready for this podcast, baby.
All right. So good. That means you took the Chiefs, and I had them too. But just as an emotional hedge, and then you look back, I'm like, oh my God, I have so much money on this team as an emotional hedge. It's going to be emotional the other way when I have to explain to the family we have to move if the Bills win. So, wow, what a game. Do it
What a
every
game.
week. Do it every year. Who cares?
Yeah, so there's going to be a lot of stuff over the next 2 weeks about Chiefs, Eagles. We had this already. The Chiefs are back. Come on. Here's where I've landed, and I feel like I've been here for most of my life, but really, especially as I get older, I really like true greatness. Like, I really appreciate this Chiefs team. I bet on them. I really wanted them to cover the bet, obviously, but I also really like the fact that every once in a while in sports, you have this measuring stick, not just for the sport, but for all the sports, right? Like, I hated the Yankees in the late 80s, or late 90s. I hated that team, but I respected the shit out of them. When Arizona beat them in 2001, and it was like, this is momentous. Wait, the Pats were able to get that in the mid-2010s, and Philly beat them with Foles and Peterson. It was like, this feels momentous. I think you need teams like that. When the Warriors lost in 2019, you need teams every once in a while that are truly great. And then you see how everyone measures up. And they did it again. I don't know when this stops.
Of course you do. Yeah, you don't want parity in everything all the time, everywhere. Like, I think if you ask people honestly, they would want Washington and Buffalo to have advanced today, right? So that wasn't going to happen because everybody wanted it, right? But other than that, I love that the Chiefs are in it, and Mahomes is great, and we saw the greatest quarterback of all time in Brady, and now we're possibly seeing his greatest successor in Mahomes, and that is exactly why I hate when people lead with, oh, the referees screwed them, No. I don't like the negative stigma, because that then football could turn into your crappy sport, sorry, the NBA, and where everybody's talking bad about it, and hey, we're forgetting the fact that we're seeing Mahomes, and he's the greatest, or close to the greatest. So stop that talk,
Yeah, that Buffalo doesn't get the 2 point.
Yeah.
And Casey gets the ball down 1, fourth quarter, and you're just going, Mahomes is taking this down. Yeah. He's going to score. He's going to get the 2 point, and they're going to be up 7. I was already mentally in the stage of, if Buffalo then gets the ball and scores a TD, will they go for 1 or 2? You like, the Chiefs hadn't even done anything yet. You just knew they were going to go down and do it. I mean, the Mahomes thing, just big picture. This is now 5 Super Bowl appearances before age 30. He's 20-3 in the playoffs. He's beaten Josh Allen, who I think, along with Burrow, but I think Allen over Burrow and probably over Lamar. Allen's his number one rival. He's beaten him 4 times in a row now in the playoffs. And he just feels like that Brady versus Mahomes, that first playoff game, that the first playoff loss Mahomes had, and Brady beats him. And then it's like he just handed a torch to him, and he's like, all right, go ahead, take it. And now it just feels like the Chiefs became the Pats.
Yeah. He handed the torch, and Mahomes, I think, played a little game with the Bills. Look, we don't turn the ball over. We haven't turned the ball over since November. There's been 280 turnovers in the NFL, and none of them attributed to the Chiefs. So what do? They fumble. It's recovered, but they're offsides, the Bills, so it doesn't count. 2 plays later, all right, we're going to give you one more chance. This is it, and even this isn't going to matter. And they fumble, and that was the only turnover of the game, right? And still, they couldn't get it done because you got the Chiefs with the ball last, and that's what's going to happen.
Well, you have on the flip side, Buffalo. Allen comes out, first drive, he throws 2 picks that get dropped.
Right.
Allen fumbles twice, pulls back both of them, recovers both of them, including on that 4th and 1. I did have a moment where I thought to myself, maybe this doesn't happen, because I remember in the Pats-Eagles Super Bowl, which I sadly watched with nephew Kyle, even to the bitter end, they've all, I don't even remember what the score was, but the Pats did get the ball with like a little over 2 minutes left and they were on like the 20 and we were all like, we're winning this. And then when Brady got stripped, it was so shocking. It was like, oh my God, somebody beat us.
Yeah.
Um, there was a moment in this game. It was when Buffalo was driving, wondering if they were going to go for two or not,
Hmm.
and thinking like, oh, what happens if like they go for two, they get it, and KC just something weird happens, and all of a sudden they're punting and they're down one, and Buffalo has a chance to just run out the clock on them. But that's the thing, KC's avoided this. They say, what did they say? 17 straight one possession wins.
Yeah, it
It's a
was 16
crazy
straight with it.
stat.
And because of that, when they're driving at the end and they're minus 146, I'm crazy about the numbers, as you know. I
Yeah, you were
hit you guys
texting
on our
me during
text chain.
every timeout.
I don't know what the hell to do with the numbers, but I'm wild about them. I just love it.
Yeah.
And it's minus 146. I'm like, wow, that's suspiciously low for this team that's going for a three-peat
Yeah.
and never loses one-score games. And then they were minus 154 when they had the 3-point lead, and the Bills were driving or whatever with that last possession there. So it is just amazing what the hell they've done. And I look at the numbers. I'm like, it doesn't even really add up with Mahomes and his stats and how they keep winning. And, the
Right. He
Bills,
didn't have an incredible game. He ran for 2 touchdowns. He only threw for one.
yeah.
The stats, the team stats were pretty even. You
How the
know,
Bills outrushed them by just 12 yards. Like I don't remember a
it
ton
felt
of.
like two. It felt like 200.
And like Cook wasn't in the game on a couple of big plays. I do think McDermott, who by the way they found out he's Bill Burr's brother. I didn't even know this. They found
Oh,
out,
is he?
Yeah, yeah, isn't that something? They talked.
I
About
didn't
it
hear
after
them
the
announce
game.
that.
Yeah, yeah. He got out coached. He got bailed out. I
He did.
think early when they scored on fourth down, but he was out coached, and Spags wasn't going to let it happen twice in an hour.
Yeah, this was a weird game because Lombardi, shout out to Lombardi, always used to talk about the middle eight, the last 4 minutes of the first half, first 4 minutes
Yeah.
of the second half. The Chiefs have the ball and they're driving down in the last 4 minutes of the first half. They get that crazy worthy call that we do this all the time. I still don't understand the rules of football and I watch football. Neither guy had possession. The
That was
ball
bad.
touched the ground and it
Yeah.
just seems like that's a dead play. Nobody gets it. And
Yeah.
they're back at they should have gone back to the 20 instead of the 5. Whatever.
Right.
So they score and you start going, wow, this could be a blowout. They're up 21-10. They stop the Buffalo here at the end of the half. They get the ball at the Chiefs at the start of the thing,
Well, they didn't stop them. The Bills scored.
and they
but
didn't.
get
That's
the
what I'm.
two.
But I'm
Yeah.
saying before the Bills went down, it felt like the Chiefs were going to blow the game
Oh,
open.
I got you. Yeah, yeah. Right.
Buffalo comes back down. And he hits Matt Collins and that touchdown. It's 21-16. Now all of a sudden the Chiefs get stopped at the top of the. So they actually lost the middle eight because then Buffalo came down and took the lead.
Yeah.
And they still won the Chiefs somehow.
Yeah, yeah, it was weird because you're right because the Chiefs got the ball in the second half. Is that what you're saying? And then
Yeah, I thought they were going to
kicked
get
it right
last
back.
possession in the first half,
Right.
first possession, second half. You score both times, you're up 28-10.
Yeah, they
It's
did.
a wrap.
The Bills had the ball, and then
Yeah.
it was interesting. It really was. And let's put everything in perspective. With that play that hit the ground and should have been called incomplete, it was holding on Hamlin. He mugged Kelsey, backpacked him, jumped on his back. So it would have been first down at the 20. Maybe the Bills don't have enough time to drive back and get the 6. I don't know that the Chiefs score either, but
Yeah.
But let's before everybody points to the Chiefs got lucky again.
No, that
Let's
turned out
consider-
to help Buffalo
That's
because
what I
if the
thought.
challenge had been overturned, you're right. They probably don't get
one
the
more
ball at
first
the end of
down
the
in
first
there,
half.
right.
And that was the one real mistake that the Chiefs made was leaving Hollins open on that one play. Hollins ended up having 2 big plays. His over under for catches was basically, I think it was one catch. It was around even. It was
Yeah, it
like
was
minus
1.5,
130, something like that. Um, if I'm Buffalo and I leave this game, do you leave this game going, how did we not win that game? Or do you leave that game going, we're just like 3 plays short every time we play this team? We have the 4th and 1, the QB sneak where Allen actually gets stuffed. Who knows if he actually got stuffed or not, but they called it Casey Ball. You have the Kincaid play where, I don't know, that was the 4th and 5. Spags calls the blitz. You knew it was coming. Allen makes a great, just to jump up and heave it toward Kincaid was great. But they had that wide shot of it, and it seemed like the ball was almost like spinning. It was almost
Right.
like when a baseball, when they hit like the pop fly that just is like has some weird thing to it. And Kincaid dropped it. And I'm sure he's going to take shit tomorrow. But I actually thought that seemed like a pretty tough catch. Did you think that was a drop or a catch?
It was
Or like,
rough. Yeah, there was traffic around him. It was kind of like a moon ball, and he's got to catch it at his feet. Probably should have grabbed it, but in that situation, like he was running for his life, and he's just trying to get good positioning on that ball. But if
it's
I'm
the
the
kind of
Bills,
play that a D
yeah,
back drops over and over again.
yeah,
Like the
right.
tip play at the line or the flutter. And it's, oh, I can't believe he dropped that. But Kincaid was on offense.
But to answer your original question, the Bills are looking at this like not that we're 3 plays away, that they should have won the game. Like they're done losing to this team, right? They already beat them in the regular season. They're not like us where we could rationalize it and be like, well, they just can't beat them at Arrowhead. It's a different beast. They know deep down they're just as good, and they can't take it. This is a demoralizing loss for them. I mean, after a while, you do maybe believe that you can't overtake the beast, but yeah,
Yeah, I don't know.
well,
So
there's the what more do we have to do factor, right? They won time of possession. They won the turnover battle. They outrushed them. Mahomes had fewer than 20 completions.
right.
Like I don't know. They scored 29, and they became the first team to give up over 30 to the Chiefs. It's weird.
Well, so the Chiefs have the ball after the 2 minute warning. The Bills don't get it, and the Bills need to get a stop.
Hmm.
Did you think they were going to get the stop? Because I did not. And it's as it turns out, they had two chances to get a stop because the Bills scored. They got the first down on second down, but the guy stepped out of bounds. So now they had this fresh set of downs.
Right.
And each time the Chiefs were able to get the 8, 9 plays. Conversely, Buffalo had a bunch of chances to make a big play on a 4th and 1 or on 4th and 5, 4th and 3, and there was a couple they didn't get. So I would assume that would probably be
Yeah, the short
driving
yardage
them
stuff.
crazy too. They did
Right.
get that when they were down. What was it, 7 when they got the fourth down play in the end zone to Samuel,
Yeah. That was
which
big.
was a nice play. That was
That's
big.
where I
I didn't
thought
think they were going to get that one.
Spags needed to dial up what he did for the very last Bills offensive play for that fourth down play because it came out of a timeout. There was a timeout and then one play on third down and then that play. So that was bad for the Chiefs defense. But I'll tell you, you're right with the short yardage. And I think we watched almost 3.5 hours of quarterbacks plunging on 4th and 1 today between the two
Yeah,
games.
the most
Um,
4th and 1s it felt like ever in the history of the league.
I like that they don't make it sometimes. I really do.
Yeah,
Like maybe
Buffalo.
maybe teams will. I don't like it like when we were growing up in the 70s and 80s where it was a 4th and 1 attempt on offense every 6 weeks or something. But I don't know. Just be a little more creative on the 4th and 1s. But Cook wasn't even in the backfield for a lot of those.
So Buffalo missed 2 points, right?
Mm-hmm. Two 2 point
Then they
conversions,
missed
right?
a
Yeah.
fourth and short.
Yeah.
And you would think with Allen, they would be the most devastating team in the league with any 4th and 1, fourth and
Yeah.
short, 2 point, which was, I don't know, one of the legacies of this game. It was kind of shocking not to see them get certain plays. I felt like the Chiefs were slightly better just because I felt like their defense. I trusted their D a little bit more to maybe get a stop when they really, 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 really
Yeah.
needed it. Even that you mentioned that Spags blitz on the last play, that 4th and 5.
Hmm.
This goes back to what I was saying earlier about how fun it is to have a team like this that we have a real history with it. We root for these NFL teams and the entire team changes over in 2 years, and
Right.
or you have these teams like look at what's going to happen to the Cowboys and they haven't even made the Super Bowl, but two
I
years
can't
from
hear you.
now,
I don't know. We lost the connection. What did you say?
2 years from now, are Dak, CD Lamb, and Prescott all going to be on the team? Probably not.
Dak
And
and
that's usually how it
Prescott.
plays out.
I know. You're right. You're right.
But in this team, same infrastructure. It's Mahomes. It's always some cast of running backs and wide
Mm.
receivers with Kelsey. They always have a decent line. Chris Jones is always there. Andy Reid always is doing some funky plays that seem like they're going to work. And then Spags, every time they need it, seems to dial up the perfect blitz. That blitz on Allen was a great call. I was waiting for it the whole game, and it
Yeah.
didn't seem like they could find it. Then they found it.
That's what they
That was
needed
it.
before the last score. But you and I think, thought we were texting. We thought this game was over, like you said, in that
I
second
did.
quarter.
I thought
And
when it was 21-10, I thought they were going to blow it out.
well, because they were picking on that Elam guy. Like,
Yeah.
like Romo said it. Is like, cover one, single safety. It's just going to be the stop right route all the time with Worthy picking on this guy.
Right.
Yeah, so. By the way,
Well, the Bills,
Romo crushed Brady today, like by 35 points. That was the biggest blowout.
yeah, Romo, I
Sorry.
thought was that was about as good as he's been in a
Yeah.
few years. I thought
Yeah.
he was all over the game, spotting stuff, spelling stuff out, telling us what
Hmm.
was going to happen. Um, I with the Buffalo piece, the defense had a couple injuries, and it
Hmm.
was pretty. I don't want to say flimsy, but it was okay. Never like a great defense to begin with. It reminded me a little of what happened to Washington today. Washington probably would have lost anyway, but
Hmm.
when it came out over the weekend that they were losing their run stopping defensive tackle,
Yeah.
and you can kind of pass the point in no return, and it felt like their secondary. I just didn't trust the people they had. That poor Benford got two concussions in a week. It looks like
You and I haven't mentioned Christian Benford or Deron Payne at
ever.
all over 23 weeks. Yes, no, ever. Yes, you're right. And those arguably were the two biggest, one, neither, both for not being able to play. And yeah, Benford actually got out with the second concussion, we think, right?
And it was like the first series.
Yeah. Yeah. And
But
that
you
was
have
it.
these things where you've already decided mentally where you're going in a game.
Hmm.
And it's already like if you're taking Washington, it's a pretty flimsy case. It's like they're not going to turn the ball over. Jaden Daniels is going to go up a level. He's going to be able to match Philly, and Hurts is going to kind of suck. Like that was
Right.
the case. The other
Hmm.
case was Philly's going to run all over them. Washington's not going to run out turnovers, and Philly's going to blow them out. You could see the two cases. It was like, I like the Washington case more. So I took that one. And then you find out their run stuffer's done when I didn't really like the run defense to begin with. And
It's
it's
like a
like, oh
15-yard
man.
difference when he's out and when he's in.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like, oh, this isn't a great sign. But
Right.
yeah, I mean, we'll talk about that game later, but
Yep.
Philly was also great. The Buffalo thing, this might have been their best chance because I'll say this. I still think Baltimore might have been the best team from a
Hmm.
talent standpoint. And I watching this game, I guarantee, like the Ravens fan watching this game today, you had to. Yeah, I was texting Mallory about it, and she's like still sick
Yeah.
because you watch what was working against the Chiefs. The Ravens were better at pounding the ball, running the ball, being physical, and they had a better defense than the Bills. And I'm sure they felt like, shit, if we would just gotten in there, we could have beaten that team, but they didn't.
We talked about it last week how important, so stupid, but how important turnovers are, and we'll get to it in the
Yeah,
Philly game, which absolutely dominated the discussion. But yeah, if the Ravens don't turn the ball over, it's a different story altogether. And maybe if they get a home game too against Buffalo, but
does it
yeah,
seem like football is just now about the turnover battle, who wins,
yeah,
how you did on 4th and 1 and 4th and 2, because there's so many of them now, and the variance of those
yep,
is huge. And did you just avoid having a massive fuck up? And
yeah,
it seems like in a game like this, in Buffalo, all season was kind of pulling off games like this, and their luck finally ran out today. And I know the Buffalo fans last week were pissed because everyone was dwelling on how Baltimore blew the game. And they're like, well, we also won the game. We didn't mess up. We didn't make mistakes. This
right.
game, they made some mistakes.
Yeah, well, that's why I took the Chiefs. I'm not going to take a lap because I recognize like whoever had the ball last pretty much went. The last 6 minutes are going to decide this game. But when I was thinking about it, I'm like, wait a minute, I'm going to go against the Chiefs, who, like I said, haven't turned the ball over
Yeah.
since November, and they're trying to repeat, and they're in Arrowhead, and have a chip on their shoulder against Buffalo, who beat them in the regular
Right.
season. Like, no freaking way. It's a point and a half. That's
The
stupid.
line was too low. I
Yeah,
think if it was Chiefs by 3, it was a different
right.
thought process. But the 1.5, how can you not? We did this last year. You had the Ravens too last year, right?
Yeah,
In the AFC
yeah.
title game.
Hmm.
And that was my never again moment. I was just like, as long
That
as
was three
they're
and a half. Yeah.
yeah, it's as long as the Chiefs are the Chiefs, it's just not worth it because they're gonna figure this out year after year.
Hmm.
So, um, on the plus side for Allen, before we get to some of the negative stuff, that pass he threw to Mac Hollins before
Hmm.
halftime was fantastic.
Spectacular. Yep.
I don't the list of QBs who can hit that one with the speed and the accuracy that he hit is not. It's basically him and Drake May.
Hmm.
That
Oh,
was a
him and
joke.
oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I lost consciousness for a second there.
That
You
was
were
a joke.
serious.
That was a joke. It
Drake
was him,
May.
Drake May, a couple others. But he hit that one. He also had that big drive to, give them the lead in the third quarter. He had the other comeback drive when it was 29-22. He brought them down again and they scored. And I was thinking like, because I don't blame this loss on Allen in any respect.
Hmm.
he's in that zone now that I'm not sure you want to be in as a great athlete. And I would call it the Tommy Hearns zone,
Ooh.
where you're awesome, you're memorable, you're a generational talent, and yet you're the other guy in the sports movie over and over again. And how do you get out of that? How do you snap out of that? Hearns was in all of these great sports moments and he lost most of them, but he was still great. Like
Yeah.
he's like one of the best boxers I've ever seen in my life. He was a 101. Nobody like him. 6'1", 147,
It's pretty cool.
uh, crazy punchy power. He fought everybody, and yet his legacy was like he lost the Leonard fight, he lost the Hagler fight.
So how is he different from Lamar then in that respect? Because they're pointing the same fingers, right?
I think Lamar is a little bit of a different case because he's kind of come up short in these big moments. Allen's had these moments like in the
So he's
13
Roberto.
second
He's
game.
Roberto Duran. Who's Lamar?
Uh,
Drake May. No.
that's a who is Lamar? I feel like Lamar's story hasn't. I want to. I'll answer that next year. I'm not quite ready to
Next year. Shit.
label him. I
All
want to see
right.
one
I'm gonna
more.
write this down.
Well, what
Bill owes
it's
me an
tougher.
answer.
Like, what boxer didn't come through every time it mattered? Is
Right.
a I don't know. I don't know who that is. But no, the point with Josh is like they've lost games where he was really good in the game. I thought he was really good in the game today.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're a Bills fan, you're like, man, Josh has to do more. That's not why he lost.
No, there's a bunch
I
you
thought
can
the play
blame.
calling was atrocious. Sometimes I thought the OC. I just don't understand some of those third and short, fourth and short. It felt like anytime they play action, they had guys all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
So I would be more mad about that if I were them.
Yeah, I think the Bills fans, at least early on, I could see they're very upset with the coaching staff. Because when you can't blame the kicker, when you can't kill the kicker, and they can't, it goes right to the quarterback or coaching staff, and it seems like the coaches are getting. We should real quick shout out to James Cook. I mean, that was a spectacular, spectacular play on 4th and 2. By the way, good job. Another great play by Josh Allen, flipping that to him on the quarterback
With some
option.
speed.
Yeah,
Sometimes the toss is too soft.
right.
That one he kind of whipped it to the point that Cook might have like whatever, but
But it
then
kind of had to get there then,
had to
right?
get there.
Yeah, and for him to be able to stay horizontally and bridge on his hand and without the elbow falling and extend it over the goal line with the other hand was really one of the better plays I've seen all year.
We've had a real resurgence with good running backs. This
Yeah,
position that everybody thought didn't matter, and then you look around, it's like Barkley and Jameer Gibbs and Cook, and going down the line, it seems like it's more important than it used to be.
yeah,
The set back to the Allen Tommy Hearns thing for a second.
Hmm.
The sad shot at the end when the team's running out the clock, and they cut
right,
to the losing QB on just sitting on the bench with that like deer in the headlights look. It's a
right.
tough one. You don't want that to be legacy. In a weird way, from a career move standpoint, I actually think he gains human interest stature
Hmm.
because now he's come so close and he just can't get over this. Like next year's Chiefs Bills game is even more interesting. This year's game was so interesting. Kyle Brandt did a Rocky Four uh, mountain parody with him as Sly and Mahomes as Drago, and I
Yeah,
don't even know what next year's version of that is.
right. Oh, maybe it's Clubber Lang then Lamar. No, no, Lang won a title.
No,
Yeah,
yeah, I don't know
yeah.
who Lamar is.
Yeah, I don't know what you do with Josh Allen. That sucks with the cutaways. You need more cutaways of his fiance, right? I mean,
Yeah.
he's losing that battle too with the Taylor Swift. So, but yeah, he's playing as well as he can, and just can't beat this team.
Well, and then there's the Buffalo piece of it too, right? So even it's
Fans,
always
yeah,
lingering with the Bills game. Like even it's 29-28. They had just scored a touchdown. They have all this momentum, and there's Bass, and I'm sitting there going, I've watched Bass miss this. Like you're watching the PAT intently. It's like it's the Bills. I've seen Bass miss this. I'm not positive this is going through. I'm thinking about KC -1.5,
sure.
-1, and he made it. But the baggage of the Bills is another thing. There's some franchises like the Lions, that playoff loss they had
Hmm.
2 weeks ago or last week.
Last week,
Was
yeah,
last week. Yeah. It feels like January has been 75 days.
yeah.
That playoff loss they haven't had a lot of those because they're never in the playoffs.
Hmm.
Meanwhile, the Bills have had, it feels like 100 of these.
They're racking them up. They got to get this game at home. I don't know. Maybe with Pete Carroll in the division, the AFC West, and some of these teams getting better, the Chiefs won't go 15-2 or
I think
15-1
it's
going into the
I think
last
it's a
week.
hard ass though, Sal,
I know.
because you look around the AFC and there's just a bunch of teams that feel like they're poised to maybe jump up a level, or teams that had bad luck in 24. Like,
Hmm.
what are the Texans going to look like next year? Even in their own division, could the Jets be better next year if Aaron Glenn turns out to be a good coach? Could the
No,
Patriots be next year's Washington?
no.
Keeping my fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Could the Chargers make a jump up? Could the Broncos? Like, you go on down, and it's just I think the AFC is just going to be better next
Yeah,
year.
and I
And I
guess
can't
it
wait to
doesn't
pick all
matter.
the over-unders correctly with you again.
You're
We
gonna
did
do a
such a
good
good
job.
job though last year.
Yeah, you did. But the Chiefs, as I run my mouth on this whole thing, they went through the whole thing on the road too last year. So I don't even know what matters. They
Well,
just
and
get there.
they lose Rasheed Rice
Mhm.
before the season. He's just a non-factor. This guy who seemed like he was going to be Mahomes' number one target. They're able to patch together. Smith-Schuster was so bad in the preseason for the Pats. It was like, can anyone take this guy from us? And then he's making big plays today. Hopkins, who really didn't do that much today. Kelsey,
No.
who looked like he was 55, but then Worthy becomes the key guy, this number one pick that they really shrewdly traded up for. Their drafts, the way that they've nailed the drafts, this is the difference between them and what happened in the second part of the Pats dynasty with in the late 2010s when they just started missing drafts.
Hmm.
The Chiefs are getting Karlaftis, they're getting McDuffie, they're getting Worthy over and over again. They're nailing guys who are like playing big roles in these playoff games, and that's how the Pats. That's why it ended.
Yeah.
The 16, 17, 18 drafts, they just weren't getting people, and that was it.
Yeah, thank God. I will say the one thing we skipped over it with Kelsey. Like that's another thing the Bills would be like, oh my God, we held that guy to nothing. He had 14 straight games with 75 or more,
Right.
14 straight playoff games. He was invisible. 2 catches for 19 yards, and they embarrassed him most of the game, and still couldn't get it done. Yeah, it's a lot of rough moments there for the Bills.
Yeah, they felt, what was their rushing passing? So they ran the ball
How many
32
times?
times.
Yeah, 32-22, I think.
Yeah, 30, they ran 32,
Oh, 32, 34 attempts
34
passing. Yeah.
passes, 32 carries.
Yeah.
And the Chiefs were 35 carries, 26 passes. This is a really, did people look at this box score like 75 years from now, assuming the earth hasn't melted yet, and
Yeah.
be like, whoa, that seemed pretty close.
Right. Travis Kelsey? What? He did nothing? Oh, what did the Bills win by?
Well,
Mahomes
and then
had 18
Hollywood Brown had that
completions?
huge brain fart on the play when he was open and didn't realize he was standing out of bounds.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
another thing with the Chiefs. Hollywood Brown was supposed to be their big,
Right.
that this big guy that helped them out. And
Yeah, he plants his right foot directly out of bounds on a ball that was it should have been catchable.
they
Yeah,
keep
I don't know.
finding little things around the fringes, like the kick returner
Hmm.
made a couple big plays today. These guys, they are always able to locate them, and it's its own skill because that's the biggest way you can
Yeah,
lose these things.
Pacheco and Kelsey, 43 total yards. Like, how much would we pull back on our Chiefs bet if we had known that was going to happen?
Well,
Oh,
don't you think part of it is everybody and their brother had the Kelsey over?
yeah, that is
I
part
think
of
that
it.
was that and Dallas Goddard were the two. Dallas Goddard hit his, but those two
Yeah,
seemed like they were the
they gave everyone free Barkley money, and then they're like, no, no,
yeah.
no, we got to figure something out.
So one other thing we'll be talking about the Chiefs going for the three-peat. And I was going through looking who's three-peated in the last 50 years, which is half a century. That's a long time.
Hmm.
Jordan's Bulls twice,
Yeah.
the Jacoby Lakers,
Hmm.
the late 90s Yankees, the Canadiens, four in a row in the 70s, and then the Islanders four in a row in the 80s. And
Yeah.
that's really it, unless you want to count the Comets in the first 4 years of WNBA. This three-peat thing, especially in the age of parity, the Pats never did it.
I can't believe the Pats never did it. I mean, I looked through it too. Obviously, they haven't. And the
It was
Steelers,
the
and the
Eagles
Cowboys,
game.
and the
It was the Nick
Niners.
Foles, Doug Peterson game.
Yeah. But out
That
of the
was it.
Cowboys, Steelers, Patriots, Niners, it's shocking that there was no three-peat. And shocking that the Bears only won one
We didn't
also.
do a three-peat in a game where Brady threw for over 500 yards.
Yeah.
Like, think about that. That was
Right.
how we didn't get it. But this is fucking hard. And you have these games where it's like they tipped our pass to the wide open guy on a fourth down. We missed the 2 point where the guy his foot was out of bounds. We missed the field goal at the end of the first half, and we needed those. There's so many things to get that right for 3 years in a row. It feels in a league with a salary cap feels impossible.
Do you
And
root?
Mahomes is great, but it's not like Mahomes was like, throw everyone on my back. I'm going to carry us all through the season. I don't
No.
even think he was one of the three best QBs this year.
How
But he's
has got?
Mahomes.
They were 15-2. They were 15-1 heading into the week that they sat everyone, and he wasn't even a top 3 or 4 consideration for MVP. Like
No.
that's insane. Because his stats weren't Patrick Mahomes-esque is the problem. But as like a Patriot fan and one of the few teams that have had two-peats, how much are you rooting for? It's not like 72 Dolphins are thrilled and do the champagne toast when a team loses, but are you rooting hard? Because I've talked to some people who have been part of like a two-peat and are rooting hard against anyone having a three-peat.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Like my dad really doesn't like when the Chiefs do well because he
Yeah.
wants the Pats to be better historically than the
Right.
Chiefs. My thing is like whatever the Pats did, that's what they did. The Chiefs belong to this different generation, and like if the Chiefs win three in a row, it doesn't diminish what the Pats did. But I think other Pats fans are like, really need the Chiefs to lose, need the Bills to come through. It depends on your perspective on it.
Yeah.
I personally was more, I'm probably leaning more toward it would be cool if the Bills never won and we were like the last good AFC East team, but I'm more spiteful.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty specific. Yeah.
If
But
the Bills never get one, and then now with Vrabel and Drake May and 130 million in cap space and whoever we get number four and some street, and all of a sudden we can like try to take the AFCs from them. I'm in that mindset.
but you're trading that for Mahomes could eventually pass Brady as the greatest ever in every conversation. You're willing to put that up for debate?
So much is left for him to do that. Brady won seven. Brady beat Mahomes twice. Brady had the Atlanta game, which is the greatest feat probably any quarterback's pulled off in a
Yeah.
game. There's a
If
long
he
way to
wins
go on the
four in a
Mahomes thing.
row, if he four-peats,
Yeah,
which he's a game and a season away from doing, then
yeah,
the conversation becomes real. I don't know.
I'm with you. Eagles, Washington.
Seems like so long ago.
I wrote down Daniels kept trying to throw on a Superman cape, and his teammates kept pulling it off. That's my half of my take of the game. The other take is the Eagles are really talented and just had more talent all over the place and actually played really well. I thought Hurts was good. They used AJ Brown correctly. Barkley was incredible. Their defense made a couple, we couple those yet another punch fumble play, a couple stops when they needed it. There's a different version of this game without a couple of the turnovers that I think would have been really fun to watch if it
Yeah.
was the Washington within a score with 10 minutes left with the ball, but instead it became an absolute blowout. I don't feel terrible about picking Washington,
You
but you
should.
knew in the first quarter it was a bad pick.
Well, except for that first drive, they did everything you could ask for them, right? So I wrote for Washington. My big thing was Philly's going to run the ball. When Deron Payne went out, I'm like, this is going to be a disaster, and especially because Washington has won time of possession the last two times. I think it was 34-26 against
Yeah.
last week against the Lions and 36-24 against Tampa. Maybe I mixed those two up, but I'm like, they're not going to win that. They're not going to win time of possession. It was dead even. I was a little bit wrong about that because it was dead even time of possession. But that first drive, you must have been excited when he's converting 4th and 2s and 4th
Was
and
great.
3s. Then we settled
14
for
plays.
a field goal that sucked. But I also don't know why they went for a field goal. Like they were surviving 4th and 3s all the way down the field, and they have a shady kicker. So
Yeah, it was like Dan Quinn ran out of plays. I was really surprised they went for it. I know the book probably said it was a wash,
Yeah.
take the points, all that stuff, but the longer they're on the field, the longer the Eagles offense isn't on the field.
right,
I would have
and then
gone for
Barkley
it.
crushes their spirit three
Yeah.
plays later. So
Barkley gets it. De'Ami Brown has the punch fumble. Eagles score again. Washington's about to punt. I thought it was the most obvious. I swear, I'm not just saying this. I was watching the line because I was like, this is the most obvious fake punt situation I've ever seen because they know if they're punting it back. And I'm watching it, and I was watching the whole play develop, and I'm like, oh, they're doing it. Like as it was happening, and the Eagles were completely blindsided, which I didn't really understand. But
were
then they
they
end up
though?
settling
Yeah,
for.
I thought
They
that was
were.
a
They only had
great
one guy
throw.
to cover two guys.
Yeah, but so oh man, it was such a good throw. I think
It
the punter
was.
gets like because it was like two tight ends like going out, and he had to judge the way the middle linebacker, and he just shifted towards the guy on the right, and then he
Yeah.
completed, and it was a good throw and everything else. But yeah, they should have been a little more prepared. But kudos to, and
So,
they only got three out of that, right? That made it
right.
14-6. Yeah,
Yeah, I wrote down it was 14-6. Washington had run 30 plays, and Philly had won seven, and
mm,
Washington was losing by eight.
yeah,
But and then Elliott missed the field goal.
right.
McLaurin scores, and it's 14-12, and Washington goes for two, which I didn't understand at all, even though like I don't understand how you're not going for the 4th and 3,
Yeah,
but
right.
then you're going for the two. It's second quarter. Who cares if it's 14-13?
Hmm.
So they don't get that, and then you start doing the math.
Yep.
14-12. Oh, this is gonna be a two-score game soon. Um, and then Philly made a couple big plays. Like AJ Brown had that big 4th and 5 catch. I thought Hurts was good. Like if Hurts had shown what he showed today in previous games, I probably would have taken Philly, but I didn't. We hadn't seen it.
For sure. I mean, we saw how successful he is with this team in the playoffs when he throws for 130 and 140 and 150. And this one, this is the anomaly, or I don't know, the outlier game. Because what did he throw for this? He threw for
It was over 200.
246.
Yeah,
And
and a
three
couple big
touchdowns,
runs too.
running for three touchdowns. So
Yeah,
I was like with that field goal miss, I was like, you're playing right into Washington's hands. Like I feel like with this team on 3rd and 6, they should run every time on 3rd and 6 or 3rd and 5. They're gonna go for it on 4th and 1 or 2 and make it. Instead, 3rd and 6, the one thing he can't do is get sacked, and he did. And
yeah.
then what's his name misses the field goal, and that was I was like, all right, they're
Well,
back in it. But yeah, it was just too much firepower eventually.
20-12, under 2 minutes left, and the guy fumbles the kickoff and gives Philly the ball
Yeah.
back. And now it's 27-12. It's
Mhm.
20-12, minute 44. I feel like that could have gone down, gotten a field goal, and it's 20-15 halftime.
Right. They take it.
Instead, it's 27-15 halftime. And then Philly gets the ball and they stop them top of the third quarter. But then
Similar to
Washington, it
KC. Yeah.
just
The
kind
same
of
thing.
flamed out. They got the three and out, and then Philly got the touchdown. And that was that. And then right when it seemed like Philly might or Washington might be able to drive down and get the super fun cover, Eckler fumbled,
Right.
and that was that. I thought Daniels was a winner in the game regardless. I thought he was really really good, and a couple of the fact that they put that team together with duct tape kind of got exposed in
Oh
round three.
yeah,
Great
yeah.
season for them though.
It's such a tough spot, right? A rookie just can't just, especially in Philly, to go to Detroit and Philly and do that and
Well,
be
the
down an
trends were
offensive
the
lineman. Yeah,
four straight road games.
yeah,
They lose their best guard and they lose their
right.
run stuffer going into Philly.
Hmm.
And yet, I kind of needed to see it from Philly. I wasn't positive they had it, like just in
Right.
general. Like were they going to do weird shit?
Well,
Where
Hurts was
does
good, but then you hear about him showing up in a knee brace, and I started getting PTSD from the Tyson Paul fight. I'm like, oh, Tyson showed up with a knee brace, and I lost a lot of money. I don't know. Maybe this isn't a good idea.
Well, then they have this weird center situation where one guy's got the knee brace and the other
Yeah.
guy has a bad back, and
Right.
Brady kept talking about it because I think he knows how important the center is because he played QB. That never really mattered.
Yeah,
And
especially with the tush push and everything. I hate that we have to say tush push. My God.
so, do we need to ban this play? Like, is it or is it just not going to be until somebody breaks their back in a tush push and then they're like, we have to stop this. Somebody was seriously hurt.
So I want to know what year they brought it back because it was banned, right? You couldn't pull a guy. You still can't pull a guy, right?
Yeah.
Forward, even though they don't call it a lot. And there was a time when you couldn't push it. So you couldn't push. So I don't know. It doesn't jive with the current rules about like, all right, we don't want guys hitting each other's heads in the wedge and we want
Yeah,
safety.
we care
And
about
this and
physical
that.
safety.
Yeah. Also, it doesn't look like a football play and it's boring. And then they have a little problem on their hand with what Washington was doing. I think the whole world that wasn't rooting for Philly was like, good. Keep hitting them. Keep hitting them. Keep getting the personal foul. And then the ref admonished them. It's like we're gonna spank you. There's gonna be a spanking that goes on here. If you do it again, we're gonna give them a touchdown. So you give them the touchdown. So we don't have to give them a touchdown. It's so weird.
So would you get rid of it? Because like Buffalo tried a couple times and it didn't work.
I'm the wrong guy to ask. I hate it.
I
The
don't like
team
it either.
the team I hate most uses it the most effectively, and but I don't like it.
So
Someone's
Eagles
going to
big
have to get hurt, though. I think that's the problem with this, right?
Eagles big picture. Do you feel better about them than you did a week ago, or do you feel like Washington outkicked its coverage and gave a valiant underdog effort? But this is what happens. This is the March Madness team that made the Final Four, and now they're playing UNLV in 1990, and it's Larry Johnson and Stacey Augmon, and you're
Right.
going, uh-oh, all right, this is running out now.
I like that. You're such a college basketball fan.
That
I
was the
think it's
last
a
time I
little.
cared.
It's a little of both. Definitely Washington, the Cinderella thing, it came to an end, but I do feel pretty good about Philadelphia in the trenches there. So, and they could, I'm not saying I'm taking Philly, but they could present problems like Tampa Bay did to Kansas City in that Super Bowl, where it's Mahomes is just running for his life, and there'll be one highlight where he's horizontal to the ground completing a pass, but otherwise it's a long night. So they were excellent. I mean, what they have 229 on the ground. They average like 6.4 a carry.
Well, Saquon, who's, if they win the Super Bowl, I think will go down as the most popular Philly athlete, just
Mm,
moving into that, basically taking the Bryce Harper spot, but in the pantheon of like guys that the Philly fans love. He
right.
was 15 for 118 and three TDs today. The touchdown was spectacular, the first one.
Mm,
Last week, he was 26 for 205. So in the two games, he's 41 for 323 with five
Jesus.
touchdowns. And it's like, you remember in the late 90s when Terrell Davis was just ripping off like these crazy postseasons, like where the
Yeah.
stats, you go back and you look at like, holy
That's the
shit.
one. Yep.
My God, that's why I made the Hall of Fame for those 2 years. And this feels
Mhm.
like a very Terrell Davis-y
Yeah, you should start
postseason for
saluting.
him.
And it's a question you posed earlier. Did he do a good deed for all running backs or just for himself and Derrick Henry? I mean, it's going to be a tough decision for GMs the rest of the way, but he did make a difference. I mean, the Eagles
Yeah.
are much better because they got Barkley, and he only had, like you said, 15 carries. Like, that's bizarre. Like, they could have had another 100 yards if he had another 10.
His
Nuts.
rookie season, I think I said to you on this podcast that I thought he was the best running back I've ever seen. And we fought about it. And then it
No,
became a
now you're
clip that
making shit
got,
up.
no, we
What?
just argued about it. I was like, this is the best running back I've ever seen. I'll send out it's somewhere
Yeah.
on Twitter.
All
And
right.
we cut a social clip about it. And then when he hurt his knee and then he was in the Giants and it became one of those like, oh my God, that was one of my worst takes. But now I think I'm back in it with the take. Like what running backs that you've seen in your life. I guess the one thing with him, the pass catching, like he even dropped the one today. The pass catching's a little iffy with him. I still
Mhm.
have Peyton as the best running back I've ever seen.
Only Barry
Um,
Sanders, Peyton, and for a small stretch, Terrell Davis, like you brought up. I don't
yeah,
really put
Terrell
those in.
Davis is in there. I still think for one game, Emmett
Mhm.
has to be discussed seriously. If it's like
Yeah,
it's
the
22
Giants
degrees
game.
outside
Yep.
and I need a running back who will rush the ball 35 times today, who's your pick? I'd
Mhm.
probably take Emmett. So I guess it would depend. Terrell is still the most dominant running back on a good team I've seen. Just felt
Yeah.
like it was 6 yards every time. Peyton was the best all around, just special running back.
Mhm.
But Barkley's wait, it's a little video game-ish with him.
This is a crazy year. Like this is, I know they're not going to give him MVP, but 2,000 plus.
Yeah.
Is he going to get 2,000 in the playoffs also? I don't know.
Could he
You
get
read
to
those numbers.
2,500 for the regular season
Oh
playoffs
yeah.
combined?
Oh, I
Yeah.
think so. Yeah,
That's in
and
there,
a
right?
and a
Well, no, it'd
monster.
be he'd need like 150.
And what's interesting is he gets screwed because of the 1 yard plunge by Jalen Hurts, right? He had three of those. Otherwise, like Barkley would probably have like 30 touchdowns.
Oh shit, I forgot that they played. What did he have in the Green Bay game? Oh, 25 for 119. Yeah, so he's been
But
over 100 in the three games. So yeah,
and even the
he'll
two
get
two or three before that, the last regular season games, he was spectacular.
so he'll get over 2,500 combined.
Yeah,
Is Cerruti on this? Cerruti's on this, right?
I don't know
Oh, he's not on. I forgot Cerruti's out. I was gonna ask Cerruti
what
who
happened.
his
Cerruti
best
lost with
running
the
back
Bills.
is.
Oh.
Yeah, Cerruti, tough loss. So who's your number one running back ever? Is it TD?
Well, I don't know. I mean, just from what I've seen, I think we missed a lot of Walter Payton's greatness, right? But I'll trust it. And if we want to keep going back
I
to
mean, he
Jim
wasn't
Brown,
on. I promise you, he wasn't on the East Coast more than twice a year for his
yeah,
entire prime. But
right.
You always knew the clips were amazing. The
Sure.
NFL film stuff was amazing. And then the way everyone talked about how he's the best blocking running back ever. He's the best pass cut.
Okay.
Like he checked all these boxes that
He threw
nobody in
touchdowns
that
too.
era was like that.
Yeah.
Tomlinson hit some of that stuff too, but the
Yeah.
Peyton stuff is the most fun NFL films to me other than Barry Sanders.
For sure. But like short yardage is so important now. I would say Davis and Barkley over like a Barry Sanders, but Barry Sanders
Yeah.
was spectacular in his own right too. So
Well, my Barry Sanders take, I've done this before, but my Barry Sanders take is probably in your wheelhouse.
yeah,
I'm like in the probably the minority, but I would rather have Emmitt Smith than Barry Sanders. I'd
yeah.
rather have the 4, 5, 6 yards a pop than the guy who every once in a while can run for 70, but was always looking to break the big play. I've had a million arguments
Oh,
about
that would
this.
you used to get in fist fights over this when I loved Emmett more than Barry Sanders, and I don't think anyone has as many negative carries for negative yards as Barry Sanders. But
Yeah.
there was something. I mean, you just go by Sports Center highlights were so important back then. You know.
So we have Jalen Hurts in the second Super Bowl,
Hmm.
which is twice as many appearances as Matt Stafford, Drew Brees, Dan Marino,
Hmm.
Aaron Rodgers.
Wow.
Um, we have Nick Sirianni in the Super Bowl,
Hmm.
where it looked like he was going to get fired in September and early October. And since then, I think they've lost once against Andy Reid, who is now 28-16 in the playoffs in his sixth Super Bowl. It's starting to really legitimately breathe down Belichick's neck. And his breath smells like barbecue.
And he's beaten Sirianni coaches who are better than him the last couple of weeks, right? Maybe the last three. Wait, the
Yeah.
last two? What they have? Wait, he's played two, right?
Yeah.
No, three. This is 3 games. He played LaFleur. He played the hell did they beat last week? What's the matter with me? Anyway, in this game too. McVay. LaFleur McVay.
Let's do guess the lines
Yeah,
because
let's do
guess
it.
the lines is brought to you by Hookah
Oh, I
and
didn't know that.
Bondi 9, their new daily trainer. Bondi 9.
Hmm.
What was your favorite Bondi?
I like 7. I
6?
I thought it jumped the shark around after that.
Now it's back. Bondi 9 is the
Okay,
best
good.
one they've had. Guess the lines. You already won. You won your first title. I gotta
Yeah.
say, my team has noticed a lot of talk with this win, and now we're rededicated for next season.
Oh, I made a nice little breakout clip of it, and yeah, I don't know what the NFL
I
can
won
do
like
about
10 years in a
this.
row, and I just sheepishly accepted my trophy and just kept my head down and
That was
thanked
your
my
fault.
fans.
Shouldn't have done
And
that.
you won once, and you're talking a lot of shit. So next year
This
it's
is a
on, baby.
big freaking deal. And I don't know
Yeah.
that, like I said, the NFL has a problem because now this is a waste of a week. I don't know what they could do scheduling wise to make this interesting with me having won the title, but
Well, you know what's really annoying? The NBA
I agree.
has their trade deadline the Thursday of Super Bowl week,
Oh,
when it
really?
should either be this week or next week. Like, just for content, the NBA just shoots themselves in the foot over and over again. I've never seen anything like it. Like,
Right.
why would you have your trade deadline during Super Bowl week? It's so fucking stupid.
Are they announcing it in the parking lot of media day? Like how close are they getting? How much attention do they need?
I don't understand it. Like, by Thursday, everyone is either at the
Yeah.
Super Bowl or talking about the Super Bowl. I just don't get it. I don't
Jimmy
understand how
Butler's
they
going to the
screw up shit like
Dodgers.
this.
It doesn't matter.
You think Jimmy Butler's going to the Dodgers? That'd
Yeah,
be
they
fun.
get everybody. Yeah.
Guess the lines. Chiefs, Eagles. And I'm going to say it's in New Orleans. I'm going to say Chiefs by 2.5.
Okay. I said I've not seen it yet. I swear. I've said it has to be 1.5 because every line has been 1.5 this year. And I'm gonna say
Okay.
the Chiefs are favored. And so now let's look.
I pulled out my starters, by the way. Joe Milton made that guess.
Yeah. Well, you should have. It is 1.5. Of course. It's the biggest practical joke in sports gambling. Chiefs
Why
are
did
favored
this
by
start?
1.5.
Why did the football scores get so weird? How did we never had 29 versus 29 29 in the fourth quarter? Never happened our
Right.
entire childhood. Like
I
everything's weird. The lines are weird. Everything's weird.
And not only that, I was like, oh, 29-29. All right, the 1.5 isn't going to come into play. And then, like, me, and Hench, we listed like 10 ways the 1.5 can come into play. Oh, the Bills can miss the extra point. Oh, the Chiefs could go for 2 and like, oh, yeah, I forgot. It's the NFL. 1.5.
That's it for Guess the Line. That's not it for the Bondi 9, which delivers peak plushness for everyday miles, overhauled from top to bottom. They've increased the stack height and added a new premium foam midsole to deliver that soft, resilient ride that's become synonymous with the Bondi. Everybody Bondi. Visit hoka.com, HOKA.com to learn more
Well, they got
about
everything
the
up
Bondi
already.
9.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What's everything up? Tell me. Let's talk about it.
Barkley over under yards.
Oh, let's do a quick tour.
You want to guess
Yeah,
that?
for our fans on YouTube.
Yeah.
On the YouTubes. Barkley
Barkley's-
over under. Can I guess some of these?
Yeah, you do it. Yeah.
Barkley over under. I'm going to say 85 and a half.
No.
What is it?
114.5.
What?
Yeah, you just read his stats. I can't give that to free.
He's playing the Chiefs.
I mean, Cook almost had that, right?
What did James Cook have today?
I don't even know. It was 70, 80, somewhere in there. What else do you want to see? Like,
James Cook had 85 yards.
yeah.
Why was that a bad guess? 114 is
Well,
a lot
Barkley's
for the
a good
Super
deal
Bowl. That
better.
means you're probably winning if you rush for
I get it.
114.
They can't give him 15. They can't give him the ball 15 times.
Plus, the Chiefs can kind of try to jam the line and make him throw
All
to
right, bet the
Devonta
under.
Smith, stuff
I
like
dare
that.
you.
I'm
I dare you.
I'm betting the under.
Okay.
Do they have Mahomes
They do.
rushing attempts yet? Because that's my favorite bet.
Oh, okay. You got.
He had 11 rushes today. That bet hits every single time. And Mahomes in the playoffs rushing attempts is the safest prop in sports.
I'm not seeing rush attempts yet. Oh wait. Oh wait. Yeah, I do see it. Okay. What do you think?
I think they jack it up to like 5.5 because it keeps hitting.
Oh, they jacked it even further. 6.5.
I still like it.
The over's a plus, but we like this bet more than Mahomes rushing yards, right? Because of the kneel down factor. He takes
The kneel down factor kills the rushing yard thing. They got to figure that out.
but you get 3 free.
We didn't talk about that moment today when the official was slapping the Washington with the newspaper because they kept jumping off sides, and he's like, "If this happens
Yeah,
one
we
more
did.
time,
I did say
we're
yeah.
awarding a score to Philadelphia." So what would have happened from a gambling standpoint? Who gets
I
the
don't know.
score?
Oh, right. We were trying to figure that
team?
out.
Is there a way we could have bet on this? Somebody like, could we bet on this in the Super Bowl? Phillies, no player on Philly scores a touchdown.
Yeah, the scolding score. Does
Scolding
the
score.
center get it? I'm not sure. That's good because it's like an own goal kind of, right?
Have you ever seen a ref say that before? I
Never.
didn't even know that was
Not even
I feel like
close.
they made that up.
Yeah, it's not a lot of brotherly love being sent that way. One other play was that the measurement, and again, the Chiefs won because they're better and everything else. The measurement on that 4th down, where the line
The
judges
two refs, could disagree.
wildly
Yeah.
different, and they just don't measure anymore. They don't take those chains. They're embarrassed of the chains. Like, why don't they measure? So like they guessed, and then that guess has to be conclusively overruled to change. Like, measure it. Put it down. First of all, there's not a
I
chip
think
in
the
ball.
ball wasn't hitting the hash mark, and the chain was actually on the hash
Exactly
mark,
the
so they
hash
knew
mark.
it just missed it.
Interesting. All right. This is a $500 billion league. Put a freaking chip in the ball. Like, it's one thing if the guy's knee is down, but if we're really just measuring to see where the furthest the ball got, I think we could do
Wow,
that.
you're a put a chip in the ball guy.
Well, what are we doing? The chains.
Do you get along with make the goalposts higher guys? Do you guys have meetings
do.
together, or are you like rival gangs?
There's a big meeting. It's also an AA meeting. So, yeah. It's no, but bringing chains out there like these guys are surveyors in the 1650s. So stupid.
So what do we have for the over-under? Can I guess that one?
Oh, yeah. Well, sure. That's easy. That's right there. I mean, not
49 and a half?
Now I lost it. 49.5 is exactly right. You know what? I'll give you a win for this week. I'll give you that win for that.
I got one.
Yeah.
So the two games today went crazy over.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, by 15, 20 points. Usually there was a lot of dialogue about, well, Eagles, Washington, each team will only get 7 possessions. There'll be these slow games. It was like, nope, that's wrong. And then
Yeah,
KC, Buffalo, they kept moving the ball up and down the field.
And last week was it the over 4-0? No, Chiefs Texans went under. But we had Eagles Rams at 50, Bills Ravens at 52, and the Lions Commanders at 76. So yeah, you had like 5 out of the last 6 go over in cold weather. Most of those games.
So for a Super Bowl rematch, there's not a lot of those either. Pats Giants was probably the most famous
Hmm.
one of this century, but we've had some other ones. When we were growing up, Steelers Cowboys was like an exciting rematch. I think I get the feeling people now don't like rematches as much.
Right.
Like the KC Philly, we've already done this. I've already done the Jalen Hurts thing.
People like to
I've already done
complain. Yeah.
Mahomes thing. Yeah, it would like Buffalo or Washington being in there would have been content fodder.
Right.
But I think this is a really good game.
It's great. And first of all, Fox is delighted and the NFL's delighted, right? Because you got Hurts, you
Yeah.
got Barkley, you got Mahomes, you got Taylor, everything. If the Rizzler shows up again, I don't know. But
The
I think the
Rizzler,
casual fan probably is bummed about this matchup a little
no
bit, right?
question.
Like I think like maybe Cowboys Chiefs would bum them out a little more. But other than that, I think this is right up there.
My son, who follows football on TikTok and through
Hmm.
YouTube Shorts, he watched the most of the second half with me, and at one point he turned to me and said, "Dad, isn't every football season the same?
Oh
Like the Bills
no.
come super close and then they lose. The Chiefs make the Super Bowl. They play somebody from the other team. It seems good. Then the Chiefs win." And I was like, "Nope, you're wrong.
I'm gonna lie to you right now. The
Nope,
answer is no.
that's not true at all, son. Every season's way different. The
There's
Chiefs
no
have
chip
won."
in the ball. Of course it's the same.
Yeah, no. Jaden Daniels, you never know, son.
Right.
Jaden Daniels last week in Detroit, he shocked the world, son.
Yeah. McDermott's not going to blow this game. Well, you could just tell him that every year he could rely on a great AFC title match, right? Like 7 of the
Yeah.
last 9 have been 7 points or decided by 7 points or fewer.
My son, I always impress my son by predicting what plays are going to happen. I've been playing
Mm,
a lot of Madden lately. I'm like, oh, empty back. I think he's going to, and half the time, that's how predictable some of these plays are, though. I think it's
right.
actually a bad sign if I'm on my couch and I can figure out where the ball's going half the
Yeah.
time. Like especially on those like swing screen passes, you can kind of see. Do you do that when you're watching the games? Do you try to predict what they're going to do?
Sure. Yeah, yeah. Well, everyone wants to be like Romo in that regard. I just can't when I
Romo doesn't
get
do it anymore.
yeah, I think he's I don't know because people are assholes and they're like, we don't want to hear it, what's about to happen, so stop circling the screen. I don't think he was told to stop, but I think he's just like,
The
forget
one
it.
I got wrong, I would have bet my life on. It was before the Samuel touchdown when Buffalo tied it. It was
Yeah,
like third and goal from the 5. I would have
yep.
bet my life that Allen was going to do the QB draw on that
I was
play.
gonna take off. Yeah,
Yeah, I just think it's been so obvious. They've been relying on it to the point that I think they realize they probably can't do it.
I
Um,
can I ask you when the shotgun from the 1 started?
but listen, my least favorite
I
plays
hate it.
are fourth and goal or fourth and short, fourth and 1, the QB not over the center. To me, you're like just throwing away an advantage.
Who started it? Did it start in college? Was it like Vince Young or like Tebow? Like it wasn't that long ago. I mean, it wasn't it wasn't like in the 70s or 80s. I really feel like it's
It's the cousin
century.
of it's a tie NBA game with under 10 seconds left, and they do the ISO where then the guy does a step back 3 to win the game.
Hmm.
But it was a tie game. It's like we just need a basket. You
Doesn't
don't
need
need
it.
to do your
Right.
step back 27 footer.
Yeah.
Same thing for the shotgun snap. I don't understand it. I also don't understand why Mahomes doesn't sneak, which we always talk about. Because he
Right.
got hurt that one time like 5 years ago. Like they can't sneak him anymore.
It was kind
Like
of
they can't.
flukish.
He can't just like lean down and burrow in and go for half a yard.
Yeah. Although I'll say that 4th and 2 where they rushed up to the line after a timeout and he rolled right. It's like, wow, this guy's got it, man. This is why it's so freaking hard to beat them.
It's really impressive. We have 2 weeks to talk about the Super Bowl on your
Yeah.
podcast, on my podcast. People are going to be in New Orleans, whole bunch of things. You have a new Cowboys coach.
Oh, we could skip. We can go right to parent corner, right? We don't have to talk about
You
this.
hired Marty Schottenheimer's son, Brian.
They are related. I had a feeling. Yeah.
I wouldn't say Brian was a red hot coaching candidate,
Hmm.
which might be a good thing or a bad thing. He's the kind of guy I would have expected. Oh, the Patriots have hired Brian Schottenheimer as the QB coach for Drake May. I'm like, good hire, veteran.
Hmm.
He's your head coach. I don't
Yeah.
understand it. Why didn't you hire Cliff Kingsbury? At least he's like from Texas and he's young, and you could make excuses for the first job. It's like maybe he didn't get along with Kyler Murray. Like I don't understand Brian Schottenheimer at all.
I don't understand it either. And nothing against the guy. I'll give him a chance. I hope he does well. But I really think Jerry Jones is fucking with us. I mean, the way he's even introduced him, he's like, he was known as a career assistant. It's like, yes, yeah, great, Jerry. That's what we're all
Career
thinking.
assistant.
That's what he said. That's how
Yeah.
he's not just Brian anymore. He's the head coach. I'm like, you just don't care about us. You don't care about this team. This is just a joke. I kind of want to enter the fan trend, the portal. I really want to get into the portal and pick a different.
No,
Like, look
you're
what Joe
fine.
House did.
No, look at the Washington fans this year. You got to keep. You got
Okay,
to stay with the
but
marriage.
Joe House,
Stay with
our
your bad,
buddy,
unhappy marriage.
watched the Washington team until they switched ownership, and now he gets a seat in the luxury box, courtesy of Washington. I'm like, all right, I'll do that. Like, why can't I just watch from afar? This is disgusting. Brian Schottenheimer, like you said, wasn't on anybody's list. It's like in fantasy, if you're doing like a snake draft, and someone
Yeah.
drafts like in the seventh round, drafts like Ray McLeod. And you're like, all right, well, wait, hold on. I'm still looking down my list to cross
Right, you're
them
making
off.
the joke. Hold on, I
gotta
got to
go.
get to page 12.
Gotta keep going. Gotta keep going. Like, there's something to be said about at least going through the motions and interviewing a Kellen Moore
Is
or
Jones
a
broke?
Flores.
Like? Is it possible he doesn't have as much money anymore because
That's why he
he
doesn't want
paid
to buy
Mike
anywhere.
McCarthy to the last minute of the contract and then
Yeah.
just let it expire, and then he's obviously trying to save money with this coaching hire. Really weird. There
He's
are
an
better people.
actor.
There are better versions of this guy out there. Maybe the landman thing.
I think he just said that.
He has
He's
the
like,
bug now.
I'm an actor. I can fall back on that if the team's bad, and the team will be bad. So it's just
Well,
nonsense.
it was an interesting one because the Jets interviewed, I think, 230 possibilities for their
Right.
head coach, and I don't even think he cracked that list. And they were interviewing people that you didn't even know were still,
Yeah.
professionally working.
Yeah, he's our guy. He's been in the building 3 years, and they still have to interview him. The funny part is that they actually interviewed him. Like, yeah, I think you know what you're getting with him. It's fine, but I'm so
Does the interview
bummed.
start like, Brian, what went wrong with your career?
Why are you still here, Brian?
Why did it peak 5 years ago? Conversely, I'm on an absolute high with the Patriots again. Like
Why
this
not?
Vrabel's putting together this awesome coaching staff that's like the complete opposite of what we had last year. We have all these like we have Doug Marrone. Doug Marrone
Hmm.
like almost beat the Pats in a round three playoff game 5 years ago. Like he was a good head coach. Um, I'm really pumped. I really feel like I think the Washington thing has given all the Pats fans so much energy that it's like they did this in a year. They hit the quarterback, they did all that. So now I'm gonna be more into this NFL draft than I was last year.
It's so funny how Washington has affected other teams near the bottom, right? And
Yeah.
it's the exact opposite effect on Dallas because now we have Jaden Daniels in our division for anywhere from next year to the next 12 years, right? And
He
we
even he
celebrate.
even took a win today, I felt like. I thought he was, he maybe a couple passes were a little low, but for the most part, like his poise and the way he kind of kept them at that 2 point conversion he had was great. I just thought I
He
had so
still
much
seems
fun
very,
watching
very
him.
cool. It's very
Yeah.
cool. Never freaks out. Threw a couple bad passes, but it's to be expected. I mean, how many weeks are going to do this for?
Well, the cool thing for us selfishly, just like for the Sundays where we're trying to watch all these games at once, we just want
Yeah.
as many fun QBs as we can get. And now it
Right.
seems like at least May and Daniels are two more to the list. Hopefully Caleb can get there. Hopefully Herbert will take some sort of leap. Hopefully the new Jacksonville coach will resuscitate Lawrence. Like we might get into a situation where half of the teams have a fun QB.
Wouldn't that be something? Yeah.
Like
I
what if JJ
think
McCarthy's good?
fun QBs
Dak's coming back.
and bad coaches shut up are what's going to keep guess the lines going for another 17 years.
Well, the one thing we know is we're always going to have bad owners and
Oh yeah.
bad coaches.
Yeah.
By the way, the Celtics, here's a little tidbit. The Celtics, it was the first round of the buyers that they had to cut down all the prospective buyers, and like I don't know,
Oh.
5 people made the first round, 4 or 5 people. One of the people was the Eagles owner,
Really?
Jeffrey Lurie, who's apparently from Massachusetts. So he was they because there's been a couple like, I wonder who these guys are. And there was a couple I couldn't figure out, but that's one
Do
that
you like
is in the
that? Do you like
mix.
when I mean, that happened with your Red Sox too, right? Isn't there like a whole
So the precedent is Josh
Penguins?
Harris
Yeah.
owned the Sixers and then bought Washington's football team. The Cronkies own the Nuggets and they own the Rams. So there's
Rams.
been a couple of NBA NFL things, but I mean, I always thought the Eagles were one of the best run football teams, right?
Sure.
So if he bought the Celtics, that's a decent outcome. There's a couple decent outcomes in this.
It's so funny how
So
there's only like a few owners, there's only a few quarterbacks to get, and there's only a few coaches. And if you don't get them, you're kind of screwed.
yeah, and you're way more likely to have a mediocre to bad coach and a bad owner. Um, all right, anything else before we hit parent corner?
Uh,
Did you hit the sad point of the season yet
oh
where
yeah,
you're just going to like wrestling tournaments on a Saturday and thinking about how you have no games on a
that is
Sunday?
pretty sad. I told you when you can't make a three-team teaser unless you use the over/under, that's a
That's the official
milestone.
official
Yeah,
sadness day.
really bad, really sad. And
Um,
after next week, after we do our prop podcast, that'll be sad too. It's a step. What are you gonna do?
parent corner, you go first.
All right, I'll go first. Speaking of wrestling tournaments, so yeah, wrestling season's coming to a merciful ending for me, and so that's my middle kid, and my youngest kid has travel baseball and rec league basketball. So Saturday I have to go from
Rec
Jack's
league
Wrestling.
basketball.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, he's all over the
Okay.
basketball too. It's fun. It is fun at that
Yeah.
age, them running around. So Saturday I have to go from Jack's tournament to Harrison's basketball game. I'm gonna catch just the end of his basketball game. So I walk in there. It's the fourth quarter, and I see my wife's there, and the game it's 18-17, and she's talking to this woman seated next to her, and I have no idea who the woman is. And I mentioned that I was like, "Wow, the gym seems tense." And my wife's like, "Yeah, the refs aren't calling anything. These kids are really going at it." And then she goes back to talking to this woman that I don't know. So, and then it's clear to me. I'm like, "Well, she must be guessing that the refs aren't calling anything because she's not watching a second of this." And so I'm starting to get annoyed. I'm like, it's 18-17 with like 2.5 minutes left. Like Harrison's taking shots and he's playing defense and everything. But anyway, okay. So she's still talking to this woman. There's 8 seconds left. We're up by 3. The opponent inbounds it, dribbles down the court, runs down the court. And just before he pulls up for the 3, Harrison hard fouls him before he goes into shooting motion. And I was like, that's freaking smart. That's like one of the
Wow.
smartest things.
The
my kids have
announcers
done.
must have loved
Yeah.
it.
The announcers loved it. The gym did not love it. The referees didn't love it either. And everyone's like, oh boy. But now there's like point 0.6
What
on
was
the
the hard
clock
foul?
left.
Was it like a shove or was it
Shove
like a
to the
karate
chest.
chop?
Like right shove to the chest, maybe a little elbow. Kid's
Oh,
off balance.
This
It
is
was
great.
way before the shot, definitely before the shot, but he saw that the kid was about to pull up. And there's point 0.6 on the clock, and there's like it's not a shooting foul, and they're just going to inbound it, and the ref like mildly scolds Harrison, much like the refs did sorry, who played Philly today? Already lost.
Washington.
Yeah, Washington, when they were jumping off sides
Oh, yeah.
over and over and over. But he's like, game's over. And so that was it. And everyone's like, oh man, oh boy, all right. So I was like, oh geez. I'm like, I can't wait to high five him in private later.
It's like a
Yeah.
small fist pump.
Yeah. And then the kid who he shoved is like crying after the game. And I say, and I'm like, now I'm by my wife and this woman. And I'm like, oh God, look at this. This kid's crying now. And she turns to me and mouths, that's this woman's son. His name is Bob. I'll say Bob because I don't want to say the real name, but that's off by one letter. She's like, that's Bob and this woman's son. I was like, oh shit. Now she's looking at me. And so now I have to eat shit a little bit. Like I let like a minute pass and I go up to her after the game and I'm like, hey, I just want to let you know, Bob played a great net game. Like, and she's giving me the look like, yeah, I fucking saw you walk in like with 4 minutes left in the game. Don't give me this crap. You didn't even see him play.
Oh, you made it worse.
I made it worse. She didn't say that, but she gave me that look. But anyway, talking to Harrison afterwards, I'm like, look, you know, you're not supposed to foul. I was like, Dad, we lost a game like that last week. I wasn't going to let him get the shot off. And I was like, that's my boy.
It's good
That's
hard-nosed stuff. I like
That's
it.
it. That's it. So I'm the jerk again.
You know, So 10 and 11. Harrison's 11.
Yeah.
Those are really emotional ages for boys sports.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot more crying than I was ever prepared for. Like in the baseball and the basketball, like kids really melt down.
Yeah.
It made me think how funny it would be if like we did this as adults. Like if it was like in the game today, like Dalton Kincaid drops the pass, he's just sobbing on the sidelines. When did they grow out of that? At age 12?
We
Probably like
do this
12,
as
13.
gamblers. Well, what's interesting with basketball from 10 to 11, which makes it even more intense, at 11 they start calling double dribble a lot, and they start calling travels, and you could play backcourt defense. So it gets pretty rough and stupid. Yeah, 10 and under, you couldn't play defense until we crossed half court. So
Yeah, because I was visiting our cousin Jimmy yesterday
yeah.
in South Bay, and I called you to see if you were around, and I just heard whistles in the background, and I'm like, oh, I forgot. On Saturday, you just drive around to
Yeah. My son getting
sporting
pinned.
events.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was it.
My parent corner. So my wife went away for a couple days with some friends. She still lives here. It's not a Michelle Obama thing. Um, and I was left alone with me and Ben and the dog,
Mm-hmm.
Murf, who, if you've noticed, has not been really on parent corner
Oh yeah.
all year because he's 4. Like he really has blossomed into a great dog, mature, no accidents. We have no gates in any of the rooms in the house, anything like that. Well, um, my son had a friend over and they made a cake,
Oh.
and it was a female friend, and um, he left there's the frosting
Mm-hmm.
left. I think he left the frosting on the counter, but maybe not enough distance for Murph not to get it. So I come home on Thursday, and in the TV room, there's just the remnants of something, and it's like white. It almost looks like somebody spilled cocaine powder, and I'm like, what is it? I'm smelling it, and it just smells like icing, and I'm like, oh my God, Ben. So now I'm on Murph watch. Nothing's happening. Nothing's happening. And then Saturday morning, the apocalypse. I noticed him sneak away a couple times. Usually he's always where I am
Right.
if I'm home. And I noticed him sneak away a couple times. Like, where Murph, where you going? He's like, I'll be right back. It was a poopocalypse. My office that I'm in right now, multiple shits.
I could smell it.
Our
Yeah.
our living room, which we had a gate so that nobody could go in there, that was a dog for months and months, and finally like we don't need the gate. It's ugly. Murph never goes in there. Double shit on the rug in there.
Mm.
The where was the other place? Oh, and then the TV room like ruined the rug. The like so like
Ugh.
3 different shits. Um, and I had already closed the doors for it. So anyway, we have this machine that I would recommend anybody who has a dog who likes to shit in their house. This water tank machine where you can scrub it and it picks the shit up. And
Mm.
I saved 2 of the rugs, but I haven't saved the third one. And
Ugh.
he ruined it. And so last night I was like, so I didn't have a good night's sleep Friday night. I'm like, last night I'm like, that hopefully the shit's done. I lock all the doors. He's locked in. In our bedroom, there's no rug for him to pee on. The bathroom doors closed or poop on. Bathroom doors closed. There's nothing he can get to. And I'm like, now I can just get a good night's sleep. We got the pod tonight with the 2 games. Like I just want to be like rested and prepared.
Mm-hmm.
Fall asleep at 1 o'clock. Like 2:45, I just hear him circling around in the room, which means he has to go. So bring him down. It's pouring rain. Goes out. He does whatever. Comes back. Towel him off. Hour and a half later, we repeat it again. 5:45. Let's do it a third time. And now I'm up, and I've been up since 5:45, so I don't know what I look like, but 3 shits, and I haven't told my wife because she's away, and so I guess this is if she hears this, this is how she's
I
going
was
to
just
find
gonna
out
ask.
that
So
Murph.
who will get in person? Well, did you reprimand your son or no?
Oh, he's like, it wasn't my fault. He shouldn't have jumped on the counter. I'm like, no, it's 100% your fault. If you leave something on the counter that, like, if you left poison on the counter and he ate it and he died, is that his fault or yours? He's a dog. He has an IQ of 20. So I've been mad at him all weekend.
Right.
And just like I've never picked up this many shits. So it's like he had never shit in the house, and then it was like a year and a half of shit saved up, just
Jesus.
dropping them everywhere. So anyway, Murph's back.
What did they make a wedding cake? What the fuck? How much
I
icing did he eat?
I don't understand. And then I was like, do I have to take him to the vet today?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not fucking taking him to the vet. The games are about to come on. If he dies, he
Right.
dies. I was like Rocky. It was like Drago. Get some Creed. If he dies,
Billy
he dies.
Drago.
Um, but it was just and I actually felt bad for him because last night I was like, I'm not even bringing you in. Just stay outside
Yeah.
and for 2 hours. And then I kind of forgot about him. I was watching a movie for rewatchables. And then I remember I heard him barking. I came back down. I brought him in and he was like so emotionally destroyed. It's like, you
Yeah.
left me out there. I didn't think you were going to come get me. So anyway, it's been a roller coaster weekend. And I've had, I think, 3 hours of sleep.
Wow. Can I say something? You said
The lesson is don't get a dog.
No, yeah, yeah. Wait on the dog, or at least get that rug cleaner for sure. You said that the dogs have an IQ of 20. This sounds like a smart dog. Like when you say like the dog left the room to do all this, he
Yeah.
he knew. Like that makes me think sometimes that dogs are smarter than humans. Like he had the wherewithal to be crafty enough or embarrassed enough or whatever it was to do it in another room for
Well, it's
just
like it's almost
temporary.
like a cheating spouse where it's like, I'll be right back. I just got to go to the bathroom, and then they're on a phone call in the
Well, I thought
closet.
you said she went away with her friends. I thought oh, the dog. The dog.
The
Oh, yeah,
dog,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
dog. Yeah.
No, he's like, I'll be right back. I'm just gonna go get some water, and it's
Yeah.
like it is like, what rug? I haven't had shit on yet. Um, so anyway, I'm looking at our chat.
What are they saying?
People, Chris Schemmer says, I love how Bill still contends he's never done blow. I have never done cocaine. I swear on my kids.
Yeah.
I'm not even positive I've been in the same room with it. I'm like very virginal with cocaine. I'm not going to ask you if you've done it.
I've not done it, and I had the opportunity because I had gambling money once to loan my roommates who were dealing it money. It's like you give me $150 and you can make 600 by the end of it. I was like, I don't know why I said no, but I
Started Goodfellas?
wasn't even doing that. No.
Yeah. So anyway, Murph ruined my weekend. And
Yeah.
it looked like the two bets were going to ruin my weekend. And then the Chiefs came through, which brings us full circle.
There we go.
Can always count on the Kansas City Chiefs to save your weekend, especially
We're
when they're
back.
the second team. I thought Romo was outstanding today. I want to mention that as well.
Really good.
I really
That's
thought he
tough.
did a great job. Romo, we were in rough shape with him a couple years ago. It just didn't seem like he was putting in the work, but it feels like he is.
Well, I like it because even last week it was a little tiny bit wishy-washy. I was like, oh man, is he just not a cold weather announcer? But no, he came back.
It's
I think he did cocaine.
like
I think
Tua.
that's what it is. Yeah.
That's it for Parent Corner. That's it. So next time
Yeah.
I see you will be next Sunday. We're going to
Yeah.
be doing our annual Super Bowl props podcast, and
I love that
then
there's like 150 up already. It's not even Monday. This is terrific.
it's amazing.
We always used to have to wait, right? Until the second week.
I have a quick NBA thing for you. We had that Pacers bet.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Tell everybody what that is.
No,
Tell
we
me, 'cause
did.
I forgot.
Well, it's
Yeah.
Pacers over, Minnesota under, Sacramento under. We did
Sacramento.
like 4 weeks ago, and now it seems like Sacramento might screw us because we need them to be under 42 wins.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Pacers are about to make a little run here. Just talking
Yeah.
about from a gambling standpoint, next couple weeks. I like what I'm. They have all their guys back. I just think there's something interesting about them that I've been monitoring. That
What
out
did
of
we
all the
get?
teams in each conference, and I think Golden State's on the flip side. I think. Did you see the stat? Golden State is 1-20
Yeah.
after the third quarter when they don't have a lead. Like
Right.
to me, Golden State, if they don't make a trade, like this season's a
fall.
punt. Yeah.
What did we get the Pacers at?
Oh, we're
Wins?
gonna hit that one. We got it at like 41 and a half.
Okay, so it's 46.5, but you wouldn't double back on it, would you? That's too much.
Oh, for regular season wins?
Yeah.
What's their record?
That doesn't matter. Yeah, no. I don't know. The record.
So they
is
are 25 and 20. So 47, they'd have to go 22,
22 and 15.
22 and 15.
Yeah,
That's pretty good.
that seems like it comes down to the last week. Yeah.
Yeah, at least well, we already have that though.
Yeah, yeah. I was just wondering. I mean,
Yeah,
so
when you
I
talk
don't even
about
know how you play them at this point. What more?
46 and a half's high. So we definitely hit that one. Golden State is 41 and a half now. And unless they do a desperation trade, that one might be going under. Um, the only other one that I think I can't believe I'm saying this, but the Lakers look good in that Celtic game.
I know.
And then they look good against the Warriors. And I'm starting to wonder if maybe they found a little something because there's a physicality to them. I wrote them off. I thought they should have traded Anthony Davis, and it's only 2 games. I'm not zigzagging, but I'm just watching them because I saw a team in that Boston game in person that just seemed like they were figuring out an identity that I didn't think they had, and then they did the same thing against Golden State.
This was
Like
a
this
tough
physical
stretch.
team.
Yeah, like they three of the next 4 games, or they're in that 4 game run that where it was going to be tough, and I bet them to
Yeah.
make the play in. I'm like, oh, they're definitely going to get in the play in because you could do that on FanDuel, and like now they're
Oh, you
minus
think that
two
could actually
twenty.
make it?
Well, now they're minus 225 to make the playoffs. So like,
Yeah, they're 7 games over 500,
right,
and I wasn't even considering them potentially being good until
yeah.
those last 2 games because they're defending way better than they did. They have they have enough shooters now. Gabe Vincent's giving them something that he was not giving earlier in the season. So it's I don't want to plant a flag on it yet, but I might have been wrong about them.
Well, I thought for sure once they let Bronny go to the G League, I'm like, that's a mistake. They're gonna regret sending that generational talent somewhere else, and who knows if he even comes back if they want
No,
him.
Bronny's the best thing that happens to going to Laker games now because
Yeah,
people want to see him, but usually the game's over.
right.
So I took Hench to the Laker game. We got out of there. We were out of the garage in like 30 seconds because it was like the
Oh,
easiest
really?
time to yeah, their
Everyone
Lakers are up
stays.
20. Usually people are fleeing, but everybody kind of wanted to stick around.
Nice.
Um yeah,
Everyone just
the
wanted Hench to leave, I think.
oh, he was in rare form. Yeah, the only other one is Cleveland. I was thinking about this for next year, that team that starts out super hot
Yeah, they're
and
ridiculous.
then around the 40 game mark, they're huge favorites in every game, but they relax a little bit and they lose a couple. And I want to remember that for next year. All right,
They
that's enough
Atkinson
basketball.
is minus 470 for Coach of the Year. What would they have to? What kind of claps would they have to have for him not to win it at this point?
Wow. What's crazy is the Thunder coach is 30-1, and that guy's doing an amazing job. He lost Holmgren for the whole season, basically.
Yeah,
And
but
they're
He
killing
won last
everybody.
year, though, right? I mean, I'm
I
all for the
know.
guys that get votes, but I think I don't think they give it 2 years in a row. Too much.
Joker at plus 230 for MVP on FanDuel seems like really good odds. As you know, I'm not allowed to bet
All
the
right,
award.
you promised me
But
you'll get the vote. Give the
no,
vote.
but I'll tell you,
Yeah.
here's why. Because first of all, it's only game 45. Second of all, there's really only 2 candidates right now. But Denver's a 4 seed now. Like you can't win the MVP unless it's either a shitty year or you're like a top 3 team.
Mhm.
They're probably going to be a top 3 team in the West, which puts him in play, and he's having this historic offensive season. It's at least an argument.
So that's the hedge on Shea because I have SGA because of you, House and Rosillo. I got like plus 350. Now he's minus 350.
Oh, when we were telling people early that was
Yeah,
the one.
yeah,
Yeah, if you're just talking value,
yeah.
it's a 2 person race now.
There's no one
I would
else.
be
Yeah.
really surprised. Tatum, oh man,
I mean, Giannis is 120.
yeah, everybody's triple figures. Anybody else? No,
Bizarre.
it's those two. So if you wanted to hedge it, I would hedge it with
Yeah.
Jokic. The
Huh.
rookie of the year is funny because all of a sudden Ware on Miami became the favorite because he
I
was good
know.
for 2 weeks. Like that's how bad. I still think Castle at plus 310 is
It's
probably a little.
bunched. I have Sar from the beginning of the year.
Yeah, and then most improved, that one always changes right around like mid-February. All of a
Hmm.
sudden, people get excited. Same for defensive player of the year. I think six man's a little more open than Pritchard being minus 170 because he hasn't been like just looking at those odds. Amen Thompson, who's been incredible, especially lately, he's 8-1, and
Yeah.
he's having I think a more impactful year than Pritchard is. I
Well,
mean,
the
you could argue
pitfall
Thompson's the
is,
best Rocket right now.
I mean, remember Westbrook was a big favorite, or not Westbrook? Who did they make? Was it Westbrook with 6 man? Could that make sense? Like a few years ago, and then like
Yeah,
it became a starter, and
and
then
it screwed it up.
odds went away. So that's what you have to avoid. Like which one of those top four can
Yeah.
be getting the starting lineup?
Cuz, what do you got to plug?
What do I have? Against all odds, a couple times this week. Drew the Ringer with Tate Frazier. Cousin Sal's winning weekend at the end of the week. And Frontier Wireless blows, and their customer service reps are fucking liars. That's it. Bye. See you
Wow.
next week.
Um, are you doing content with Tate this week?
Yeah. What do you want me to ask him?
Is he focused yet on Charlotte trading for Curry? That was always his dream scenario.
Ooh, interesting. I don't know. He's
I don't
all
think
about
Golden State's ever
Belichick right
trading
now.
Curry, but Tate's dream was Golden State was going to become mediocre, and at some point the move was just to cash in Curry before during the last stretch of his
What
career.
does that look like?
He goes back to Charlotte. Well,
First
he
round
grew up
pick?
there.
The number one? No, I know, but what do they have to give up?
I think LaMelo's in it.
Yeah.
I
Two
don't know what
guys
the
who never
trade
want,
is.
who never want to play. That's what a great trade.
Anyway, ask Tate. See what he thinks.
All right.
All right. Thanks to Kyle and Gahao. Thanks to Saruti, even though he's not here. You can watch all of our stuff on YouTube. Please subscribe for us. And then I got a new
Yeah.
rewatchables coming tomorrow. So that's the pod. Sal, congrats on the Guest Alliance title again. Good job by you.
Good job by you, buddy.
And good job by the Chiefs. Thanks, everybody.